Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. And with this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about Grant Morrison's Volume 1 trade for Batman Incorporated. I got this from my local library and just finished reading it not too long ago. And it was definitely an interesting reading experience, to say the least. I'm somebody who went into this not having read what was precursor to it, Bruce Wayne's apparent death, and sort of traversing the afterlife or whatever all that's about. I got to, pick up with that eventually. But I was really intrigued and captivated by the idea of essentially Bruce Wayne taking the Batman symbol and basically making it a trademark, going around the world and hiring these people to become Batmen in a sense for their little burgs, their little cities, their countries, little small towns, what have you. And I was really interested, thinking that this was going to be sort of in a Watchmen-esque sort of vein, basically looking at the sociological impact something like this would have, an impact on crime, and all this kind of stuff. And what transpires in actuality is just sort of a, good against evil. You have this big evil sort of covert conglomerate that the story really twists and turns, sets up all these different characters as potential villains. You have the one that starts it all, Lord Deathman, as he's called. You have question mark characters like El Gaucho, who seems to be a good guy. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. You have vigilantes like Mr. Unknown. Catwoman is in tow for a little while there with Batman going to Japan to uncover what's going on between Lord Deathman and Mr. Unknown, for example. And that's really what begins the volume. And then as we follow, we see characters familiar to the Bat family like Robin, Red Robin, Dick, basically wearing the Batman cowl with Damian in tow. You have Batwoman showing up, and toward the end, you have a whole volume where you're basically with Stephanie Brown's Batgirl inside this school for girls and stuff like that. And in between which, again, you have characters that are very interesting, like Batwing, the villainous Scorpiana, who to El Gaucho is kind of akin to the way Selina is with Bruce and stuff. You have the sort of Native American Man of Bats and Raven, and there's even this whole sort of issue that takes place almost as an homage to something like Ghost in the Shell, because it's all 3D and sort of CG animated in a sense, in a 2D format, and the second chapter of which is actually Ghost in the Box, which basically involves, Bruce Wayne holding this sort of meeting for, potential investors in the Batman Incorporated logo, and their whole thing is being done virtually, and it gets hacked, and there's all this cyber malarkey, and you have Oracle basically helping to figure out who's behind and stuff like that. So suffice to say, it's kind of all over the place, and the chief thing among them is this under thread of the identity of this person who seems to be manipulating and pulling the strings. You get red herrings tossed this, that, and the other way at you as far as who the chief villain or villainess might be. Most of them seem to be dead, long since dead, and there's even a whole, issue dedicated to sort of a flashback to Kathy Kane's Batwoman, which was very interesting to me in the way that it, sort of unfolded, because it's dealing with the modern incarnation of Batwoman, uncovering this, and it ties to one potential, basic villain that's behind all of this, the puppet master, if you will. And then finally, the last page basically tells us who has been orchestrating all of this. The last couple issues get a little bit mind warpy, and so it's definitely nothing like what I anticipated. That isn't to say I was wholly disappointed. I was only slightly disappointed, but I mean, throughout, even though the art is not consistent, it's all gorgeous for each respective story, and really, gets you involved. If you're reading it issue by issue, I think you'll have a better time with it, quite honestly, than just reading it all in one trade volume. And so, yeah, that's kind of how it left me. It kind of left me a little dissatisfied because it wasn't quite what I thought it was going to be, and at the same time, it was still enjoyable for its good aspects, the art, and the singular stories taken singularly, basically every step of the way. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below if you've ever read this volume, if you plan to read this volume, what your thoughts were on it, whether you are curious to dig into it. And otherwise, I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.